Well, America's national parks are hosting record numbers of visitors. Tourists from across the nation and around the world come to experience natural wonders in all their beauty. Well, recent federal budget cuts, staff shortages have now put the future of our parks in jeopardy. CBN's Brody Carter takes us to Zion National Park for a closer look.
It's said the national parks are America's best idea. We're hiking the Narrows here at Zion, southern Utah. It serves roughly 5 million people every year. But friends of the park and former national park employees tell me that big budget cuts from Washington are threatening these national gems and could potentially lead to park closures.
Humans have navigated this canyon for centuries. First came the Ancestral Puebloan and Paiute tribes. Then settlers from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Breathtaking. I mean, you see beauty that you've never seen before.
Efforts to protect this great temple of stone began in 1909 when it became Mukuntuweap National Monument. Renamed Zion by Mormon settlers, it received national park status in 1919.
We come here from Poland because we want to see your national parks.
As one of the system's most visited locations, second only to the Great Smoky Mountains, Zion has welcomed more than 100 million visitors. For rangers like Matthew Fink, wearing the iconic uniform is more than a job. It's a promise to protect this fragile resource and keep its visitors safe.
The mission of the National Park Service is to preserve and protect places like Zion for current and future generations. That's about as pure of a mission statement as I could imagine.
The promise bears more weight given that visitation has risen 80% over the last 15 years. That surge in foot traffic is now crashing into a wall of federal financial discipline. The Trump administration's first budget proposal would have slashed $1 billion from the National Park Service. While Congress didn't go that far, the so-called Big Beautiful Bill reduced the park budget by $267 million. Combined with a mandate to shrink the federal workforce, it's a 1-2 punch park advocates believe will push the system to a breaking point.
So since January, the National Park Service has lost about a quarter of its permanent workforce. So nearly 1 in 4 people are no longer in their jobs at the National Park Service. And this follows a decade of just decreased funding to the national parks at the same time that the parks have never been more popular. They reached a record 331 million recreational visits in 2024.
Cassidy Jones of the National Park Conservation Association speaks up for the park employees keeping quiet over fear of losing their jobs.
But this administration has been very clear that they do not want to talk about personnel issues. That's a directive that comes right from the Secretary of Interior's office. And so they're not commenting on the ways in which different tactics to shrink the federal workforce is affecting the Park Service's ability to do its job.
The near total hiring freeze has left roughly a quarter of Park Service jobs unfilled. Lack of funding for critical maintenance adds to an existing $22 billion backlog of repairs. And the pain goes beyond national parks to the service's 433 other sites, including monuments, battlefields, beaches, and historic landmarks.
So our role is to engage with local partners, the Park Service, and communities to stretch dollars as far as we can to fund critical projects, whether that's in education, conservation, search and rescue, or making sure that our park rangers have the resources and tools they need to do their jobs effectively.
For 96 years, Zion National Park Forever Project, a nonpartisan friends group, has worked to ensure a positive visitor experience. Donations alone, however, can't replace full-time federal workers. President Natalie Britt says lean rosters force hard trade-offs in key areas.
But as you have less and less people, there's 700 plus search and rescues in this park every year. There's a morale issue, right?
Yeah, you're good.
So when there's less people doing that, the impact to the public and the impact to our green and gray is certainly a challenge.
We generate $15 for every dollar we bring in. And we're only 1/15 of 1% of the entire national budget.
National parks are in Fred Fahrgren's blood. His father spent 2 decades as a Zion Ranger, giving Fred an education inside the park before he followed Dad's footsteps, serving 34 years himself.
For me, it's the place I grew up. It means a lot to me. Nowadays, it's hard to get people to come work for the National Park Service because we have housing problems. So I don't know where the Park Service can go unless there are additional funds provided.
Unfortunately, things could get worse. The Great American Outdoors Act, landmark legislation that's pumped billions into fixing the park system's aging infrastructure, is set to expire next year. Without congressional reauthorization, the $22 billion maintenance backlog will only grow.
My father was working as a ranger on the south rim of Grand Canyon when I was born.
Philip Bruick also served in the parks more than 3 decades. He fears more cuts could close or reduce access to those parks already struggling.
Now when you have parks that are 97, 98% personnel services, you don't have any money for overtime, you don't have money for supplies, you certainly don't have any money to repair something. And so I think Congress and the President go ahead with these kind of cuts. I think we may even see some parks closing down because they can't handle the management duties and responsibilities they have.
Back in Zion, the work continues, fueled by the mission to protect these places for future generations.
What I do believe is that the folks that do this job are so committed to being a force for good. You meet somebody in the green and gray, they are called by a bigger power to serve the public and to do the right thing.
Those wearing the uniform admit they can't do it alone. It will take Congress, communities, and individuals working together to help America's national parks thrive for generations to come.
The development of the national parks has proven to be one of the greatest treasures in America. Reporting in Zion National Park, Brody Carter, CBN News.
Our national parks are a national treasure, but they're an expensive treasure. When you look at the entrance fees, that's only between $300 and $400 million of income. Does that go to pay the Park Service salaries? Absolutely. But you look at that kind of income against a $3 billion budget number, yeah, it's the general fund that is really doing that. And so you get into the question of how much can we afford this in the spiraling amount of debt that we're accumulating. You look at the overall cost, though, against that spiraling debt, and you've got to ask the question, why can't we do better? So is there another way forward? There's been proposals, and part of the fund is created by offshore oil and gas fees, but could we have additional fees either on energy or some other way to be able to directly fund this so we keep the national